Howdy y'all, I'm Mar in Texas, sharing EIM for mobility with y'all. This is elementally intuitive movement. Now EIM for mobility does not require very much space. So here I am, and nature is my stage. So sometimes it's changing, my locations will be changing based on the conditions because nature teaches us to be adaptable, and I appreciate that. But luckily, the first 3 levels of elementally intuitive movement, we are stationary spheres. So that means that our feet will be planted to the ground, but we'll shift periodically, we'll shift position. But whenever we have set our feet, our foundation, our base to where we want it to be, then we'll move everything else. First, to start out with, I want to warm us up with a little bit of shimmy. So for shimmy, have your feet maybe a little bit shoulder width apart, or a little bit less, a little bit more is fine. And we'll put our hands together, and then we're gonna go from side to side, and then we're gonna let everything else just kind of shake. Because when we push our arms from side to side, everything else just kind of starts moving. And now that that started moving, see if you can keep it moving without your hands. Now, if you can't keep it moving without your hands, that's okay. Put your arms back in there to get that shaking motion. Another way that we can get the shaking motion going is like this. So you can shake your arms from side to side and get that shaking motion. Now this shaking is helpful. I like to shake to one side and shake to the other side. Shake, twist, shake, twist. And part of what the shaking does is that it helps process nervous tension out of our bodies. Now, I don't know if you've noticed, but we're mammals, like our dogs and cats. And the way that they shake out, they shake. So the way that they process tension in their bodies is through that shaking. So we can help our bodies process out nervous tension by just shaking it out. And if we take a minute, set a timer, shake our bodies, not only does it help shake out that nervous tension, it also helps to warm up, especially if we're doing it gently, helps to warm up the muscles and the interstitial fluid, which is in between, the fascia, the connective tissue that holds everything together. Because the more still we are, the stickier that interstitial fluid becomes, and so then we feel stiff and sticky. But once we move things, get things in motion, we warm it all up. We warm up our tissues, anything like gently lubricating our joints with this gentle motion, getting everything moving, because our joints produce synovial fluid with motion that helps to lubricate. So we are very much like Tin Men. When we don't move, we get stiff. You don't necessarily notice it when you're young, but as you age, you start to notice it. But we can help support our bodies and keep them fluid and moving and producing their natural fluids and motions, fluids with motion. So there's that. And now I'm gonna add in wacky arms. Wacky arms, we don't have to do the shimmy part. You can be still on the bottom and just move your arms around. But do it in a controlled way. Try to do it slow. I like to think like I'm a wavy, watery sea monster. And mix it up. Now you don't have to do what I'm doing exactly. You can move however you want to move. My goal isn't to teach you to do exactly what I'm doing, but to get in touch with your body and feel how your body moves. Because all of our bodies move differently, even though we have similar biomechanical designs. So we're going on the similar biomechanical foundation, but making allowances for all the different changes that we have, because through life we'll have varying dimensions as we're growing, especially as you're developing from a child into an adult. So learning to adapt to your body's changes really helps support your body as you're growing and help your body kind of process out some of the discomfort that you may experience as your body is growing and developing. And so it's wacky arms, and we can shake them. We can shake them, they're really wacky. Sometimes I like to think about it as doing like high fives. Give high fives to everything in your sphere and do high five and low five and fives to the side and five up and five down and oh and five oh in all the directions and all the directions that you can. And then I start shimmying, and so now we have a combination of our wacky arm and our shimmy. If you do that for a minute or so, really good cardio, helps to process out tension. And I recommend adding this into your day 5 times a day for a minute, and just do that to mix up the motion, especially if you're doing a lot of computer work. Be sure to remind your body that it can do more than this. Because if we sit like this all the time, then we're practicing being like this. And so when we're like this all the time, all the muscles in the front of our body get shortened, and the muscles in the back are overstretched. So we have to remind our bodies that they can be open as well as being closed. And so elementally intuitive movement does that by encouraging us to mobilize and move and explore our spheres. Now, as we're exploring our spheres, we want to pay attention to different things, different aspects, which I call the foundations of EIM. First is our breath. We want to inhale through our nostrils, exhale through the nostrils or through the mouth. You can alternate, you can experiment, do a few breaths, 3 breaths, exhale out the nose, 3 breaths, exhale out the mouth, or focus on a minute of nose exhale and a minute of mouth exhale, and notice if you feel a difference. Either way, you're paying attention to your breath. And when we're breathing fully. We're engaging our diaphragm. We're making sure that it's not our chest moving, but our belly expanding out and contracting in. Another aspect of EIM is that we're never still. We're never totally stationary. We're always in motion. We're always moving our body around slowly. So we're getting used to maintaining this motion of our lower body as we're paying attention to our breath, as well as paying attention to the orientation of our feet, because we want our feet to be lined up with our knees. So that way the knee joint is lined up in a way that the ground force, which is every time we step, it's like the ground is pushing back at us every time we step down. And the harder we step, the more the ground pushes back at us. So learning to move gently is great. So we have less impact on the ground as well as less impact on ourselves. So then the ground impacts us less. But as the force is moving through our body, there will be force. We'll go through evenly. The position of our feet, if we're out to the side, if we're out to the middle, changes how our knee joint lines up with the bones. And then that changes the wear of movement. So if we train ourselves to maintain almost even with our feet slightly out to the side, straight slightly out, but not out like that, not in like that, just pay attention to that as you're doing your movements. So we're paying attention to our feet. We're paying attention to our breath. We're also paying attention to our center and holding ourselves up and open. Because part of what we're practicing with EIM is training our bodies to hold an open position, because when we're open and upright, our nervous systems recognize that we're safe. Going back to primitive times, when we were hunched over, it meant that we were either hiding or hunting. And when we're upright, we are exposing our very delicate organs to the world. And we can only do that if we're safe. So if we're not in actual danger, practicing holding ourselves upright helps to help our nervous system feel less tension, and also will experience less tension from the very biomechanical dynamics of when we're holding ourselves upright, our line of gravity is over our bodies. Because whenever we come forward, now gravity is starting to pull forward. And as gravity is pulling forward, muscles have to compensate to hold us up. And then that creates a lot of imbalance and dysfunction as well. So by training ourselves to hold ourselves upright, so we're not having to fight gravity, and we do that through aware support of these muscles, awareness of where our feet are positioned, and we breathe. So we're juggling spheres of perception is what's going on, and we're learning how to juggle these multiple spheres of perception and check in. I think of it as like we're driving a car. And when you're driving a car, you're not just looking at the road in front of you, you're also looking at your rear view mirror and you're looking at your side view mirrors to make sure that your path is clear and that you're safe all the way around. So what we're doing with EIM is training ourselves to check in with our bodies, to check in with our breath, to check in with our feet, to check in with our core and make sure that we're holding ourselves up no matter what we're doing as we're moving. And as we practice doing that consciously while we're practicing EIM, we'll start noticing ourselves doing it throughout the day in general, which is good. Because it helps ensure that we're breathing more effectively, that we're moving more effectively, that we're protecting ourselves as we're moving and doing what we need to do, so we're less likely to experience injury or dysfunction. Because life is random. We have to adapt to randomness. EIM teaches us to adapt. Adaptation is another aspect that we're paying attention to. We create dynamic motion with our bodies. And in creating this dynamic motion, we're forcing our bodies to adapt to these changes. And then integrating that all together fluidly so that we don't have to think about it. That's intuitive integration. And that's the ultimate aim of EIM, is to be able to put that all together so that we don't have to think about it, because we've been training our autopilot to operate most effectively and efficiently for our particular bodies according to our own biomechanical designs. So we start with level O. In level O, our hands are connected. And our hands can be connected in different ways. We can have just the fingertips, we can have the palms. In level O, we're getting to know our guide. So our guides are our arms, our hands. Because as we follow them, we're moving the rest of our bodies. And now that our feet are planted too, we have to adjust and adapt to where our arms are going, because we can't pick up our feet. So everything else has to shift and engage. And so part of what we're doing here is exploring. And we're paying attention to how it feels. If something feels uncomfortable, shift. Try it a different way. And that's level O. And you can do level O for 5-10 minutes if you want. Put on music. I recommend when you first start out to not put on music, so that way you really pay attention to how your body feels, but not only pay attention to how your body feels, but you're paying attention to your environment. That's another sphere of attention that we juggle as we move on to advanced levels. But practicing attention to our environment as we're practicing levels 0 through 2 will help support us more when we're ready to expand into our spheres and really expand into our environment and become moving spheres, moving through space. Level 1. Level 1, our hands are in contact with our bodies. We're finding our centers. So we're getting a sense of proprioception. Proprioception is where our bodies are in space. And as we're getting a sense of proprioception, we're also moving in ways that we wouldn't usually move. So we're stretching and mobilizing. And if we want to, we can add pressure and make it a massage. You can hold a position and add motion, which is considered a pin and stretch. Or you can just do some petrissage, which is the kneading with your hands. If you want, you can do some tapotement, which is hacking, beating. Or just do gentle stroking. It doesn't matter if it's superficial or if you go deeper. Just don't push your body beyond what feels comfortable. If it hurts, don't do that. The goal isn't to hurt yourself. The goal is to become aware of where your body is in space. And while we're doing that, we can also give ourselves massages. It helps our hands become familiar with what feels good for us as we're getting a massage, so that we can better communicate to either a massage therapist or a family member when you need massage what you would prefer. It also helps to train your hands to give massages to other people, to your family members. Because if there's an injury going on, we can totally take care of our family and friends with gentle touch that's conscientious and respectful, and that will help our bodies to relax and feel calm. And that's very therapeutic. There's also the benefit that the person who gives massage also feels calm. Heart rate and blood pressure go down for both the giver and the receiver after just a few minutes of massage. So that's level 1. In level 2, we're expanding into our spheres. So now, level 2, we're using the upper part of our center. But to be able to use the upper part of our center also requires the lower part of our center, because we're using muscles in the front of our bodies and the back of our bodies to help do these movements. And to really support our bodies best through the motions, we want to move with our whole body. So now our arms are very much our motion guides, and we're wanting to maintain our planes. Our shoulders are ball and socket joints. It's a multi-axial joint, so we can access horizontal, we can access vertical, we can access diagonal, curvilinear, rotary. So there's a lot of motion that we can get done and accomplished with our arms. Because it's such a dynamic joint, and part of what makes it a dynamic joint is that it's very shallow in the socket, and it's mostly held in place by muscles. So learning to move our arms in a way that best supports them and also strengthens the muscles that provide that support could probably help ensure healthier shoulders. We're also helping to balance out the muscle usage in our body. This day and age, a lot of people are sitting like this, and so when the muscles in the front of the body get tight, they restrict motion. But they can restrict motion if we remind our bodies that we can move through space in different ways. Then we're more likely to return to a neutral stance after our activities versus staying locked in a position of computer hunch or gamer hunch. And remember to check in with your feet and your breath and how your body feels, and that you're holding yourself upright and open. And you don't have to do what I'm doing. So whatever I'm doing with my arms, you can do what you want to do. Maybe just follow the pace and the slowness. Think about like you're stroking the air very gently. You're very gently moving air molecules over to the left, and then very gently move those air molecules over to the right. And in the process of doing that, we're training our muscles to better support our bodies through this slow motion. It's your sphere. It's your sphere. Make sure that your sphere is clear so that you have enough space to move freely and explore. And in this process of exploring, you're developing and establishing maps of motion so that your body recognizes, oh, I can move like this. Oh, I can move like that. Oh, we can do this too. Wonderful. And then do it more often than not. Now we put it all together and do some 1, some O, expand, maybe some 1 again, O, 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 O. Singing is a way that we can help support our vagal tone. Our vagus nerve runs from behind our ears, from our brain, and through our bodies. And then, oh, right, it's called vagus because it's like a vagrant, it's a vagabond. It travels very far into our bodies, and it helps to communicate from here to here. And it's in charge of helping us relax when we're stressed. And we can help support vagal nerve tone through deep breathing and really engaging that diaphragm. And we can also do it through singing and chanting and making noises and sounds that I like to call vagalizing, because we're making sounds specifically to stimulate our vagal tone. So we're really putting some force into it. So this is something that when you're gonna vagalize at home, you might wanna let people know that it's coming, or do it in a confined space, or go do it outside, whichever works best for you. And we can keep it simple, keep it to the vowels. And so you can vagalize as you're doing your EIM, so you can have your movements. And I would say do some level 1 so you can really feel your diaphragm contracting. You can feel these muscles. Go ah 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 eh 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 e e e e o o oo. So just use the vowels as our sounds, as our focus. Eh 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 e e e e ah 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 o o o o you. Ah ah eh eh e e o o ah ah eh eh e e o o oo. A E I O U you A E I O U. And so make up whatever song you want to make up is fine. And if it makes you laugh, even better, because laughter also helps to support vagal tone. So we can go with our vowels. Ha 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 he 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 ho 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 ho. Ha 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 he 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 ho 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 ho. Ha 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 ha. Ah ha 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 he 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 oh ho ho ho. Ha 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 he 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 ho 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 ho. All right, so there you go. Hopefully you're feeling warmed up and energized, but also loose and limber, and have enjoyed some elementally intuitive movement and introduction to. And the 36-week course, we really break everything down. So we really explore levels 0 through 5 for 6 weeks and focus on each one of those foundations of elementally intuitive movement. Because when you really take the time to focus, and then in between lessons, I expect you to practice at home on your own daily. This is how you establish a daily practice for yourself, just a few minutes a day, and really think about it and feel it, and then progress to the next level. And by the time you're done with this program, you'll be able to move your body freely through space, like a space appreciation, kindness ninja, and go through the world kindly as you can, appreciating your space and respecting and appreciating the spaces of the people around you. Respect your sphere, respect the sphere of others, and have a nice day. Thank you so much. Aim for mobility.